welcome to yet another interesting edition of The Verdict. Today we have another interesting topic of discussion, democracy and ethnicity. And my guest on the program is a human rights as well as civil rights activist, Gabriel Sampamailo. Together we'll be discussing pertinent issues surrounding ethnicity and democracy. Well, our dear viewers, you'll also be able to participate on the program by dialing the numbers that will be scrolling on your screens. Remember, The Verdict is a governance program that has been dedicated to discuss several issues surrounding the electoral process ahead of the August 12 general elections. A number of issues have been discussed on this platform, and our viewers also are afforded the opportunity to contribute so that as you go to vote, you make an informed decision. Now, getting to the topic of discussion, democracy and ethnicity. As I already introduced, my guest is Mr. Gabriel Sampamailo, a human rights activist. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soko, and good evening, our viewers, wherever you are watching us from.
We are glad and find time to be part of the program.
Thank you so much. It's important to discuss pertinent issues like you've alluded in your opening remarks, issues of democracy and ethnicity, a matter especially as we head to 12 August general elections.
Now, Mr. Milo, we want to first of all start by you giving us a brief background of yourself in terms of education as well as profession.
Thank you so much. My name's, you've already mentioned, I'm Gabriel Sampamailo, a human rights and civil political activist. My educational background dates way back from Kasama. I was at Kasama Boys. That's where I did my my secondary education. Went to the university in Uganda Matters University, a Catholic university, and further came to pursue my master's in human rights, governance and peace building at the Copperbelt University of Zambia, in Kitwe.
Interesting. Now, what have you been doing in terms of the human rights space?
The human rights space in this country, I can arguably say we are making strides in terms of making sure that human rights issues take center stage in the governance of this country. But I also hasten to mention that in as much as efforts have been made to make sure that institutions of governance are strengthened, they are capacitated in terms of human resource, skills and expertise, there's also a lot that needs to be done in this country to make sure that human rights issues are realized, are achieved and are promoted from time to time.
And as we get towards our topic of discussion, I want you to bring us up to speed. What are some of the elements of democracy and ethnicity?
Thank you so much. Zambia is regarded as a beacon of peace in Southern Africa, and we must applaud that. But I must also mention that there are a few elements that affect our democratic space. And maybe before we do so much into this discussion, it's important that maybe the viewers out there understand what democracy is all about. And I'll quote the famous quotation from Abraham Lincoln, who provided the definition of democracy as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. This means that the people, the masses, the citizens should be part and parcel in determining the governance and the democratic space of this country.
Interesting. Now, what is the need to ensure that the country upholds the principles of democracy?
Okay. In this discussion, Mr. Soko, I would also mention that the most significant tenets or elements of democracy are: number one, citizen participation; secondly, equality; thirdly, political tolerance; fourth, accountability; fifth, transparency; sixth, regular, free and fair elections, which I think you've already mentioned on that; seven, economic freedom, control the abuse of power, Bill of Rights, accepting the results to be free and fair, or if they have been considered that, and also the realization and appreciating the aspect of human rights itself, multipartism, which we are, and last but not the least, the rule of law. These are very important to make sure that democracy is seen to be considering these aspects that are fundamental. Without these tenets or principles that I've mentioned, democracy is questioned in every democratic country. So, number one, we the citizens, do we have that enough space to engage government institutions? Are we given that platform, the space where you and me, like we're having this conversation now, we can easily engage our leaders, the duty bearers, when certain things in our country are not moving right? Secondly, when we talk of equality, are we treating women and men equally? Youths, the girls, old men, old women, are we treating them equally in terms of accessing resources that are needed for them to thrive, for them to really feel that they belong to this particular country? These are some of the questions that are very important when talking about democracy. And the aspect of accountability, how often is our leaders, the duty bearers, able to account for the resources that we've mandated them to manage on behalf of the Zambian people? So these are some of the issues that from time to time that our people, the citizens, need to be involved. And it doesn't hurt for state institutions, for duty bearers, for our civic leaders to respond to some of the concerns when these issues are presented in their respective offices. The issues of holding free and fair elections. I know very much well that this being an elective year, different political parties in their own making and in their position, they have made efforts to make sure that they package their political messages to ensure that they reach out to the masses, to the point that on the 12th August, as they go to cast that ballot, people will be able to make informed decisions based on the political parties of their choices. And this is very important in democratic countries. And economic freedom. Mr. Soko had mentioned that when you get the concerns from the general public, an outcry that things are not okay, there is a reason. And responsible governments, responsible leaders, it could be at household level, even at community level, responsible leaders should take time to listen to the cries of the masses. And that's what democracy is all about, is to sit, we dialogue, we negotiate, we provide possible answers that the citizens of this great country are looking for.
Then going forward, what is the need to ensure that the rights of citizens are upheld in terms of, as the country holds general elections, to hold campaigns, meetings, and other rights that people may be entitled to?
Thank you so much. This year is totally different from the past years that we've had elections in this country.
What makes it different?
What makes it different is that the issues of COVID-19, I think, is a major blow to many political parties, both the ruling, the opposition, even people that are in the civil society organizations that maybe had the resources to go out and reach out to the masses to ensure that they sensitize the people, they inform the general public on what their political parties stands for and how best they can reach out to convince. Mind you, the reason why political parties, presidential, even a member of parliaments would want to meet, these people in their respective constituencies is to ensure that they reach out even to those who do not have maybe the access to the media, like we're discussing now. There are certain areas, Mr. Soko, in our country that you cannot access maybe even mobile phone services. So these are some of the issues. So because of this COVID, it is quite challenging for political parties, be the ruling, the opposition, to make sure that they reach out to their target audiences. But they should also take advantage that maybe they use platforms like the media. Camnet is one of the platforms that these political parties, with their representations, that they can come, share their manifestos, share the messages so that they convince and inform their electorates, such that come 12 August 2021, people will be able to cast a vote from an informed perspective.
Now, getting deep into our topic of discussion, Do we have superior tribes in Zambia?
Thank you so much. The discussion this evening borders much on democracy and ethnicity. And maybe for the purpose of our viewers, it would be very important that maybe I try to give a little bit of an explanation from an academic point of view and also from a cultural perspective, because I think in the past 10 years, personally, I've seen that the issues of tribalism during elections are threatening our democracy, are threatening the peace and security of this country, regardless of where people are. And it is very sad that in the 21st century, political parties, presidential candidates, parliamentary candidates, even councillors, some have reduced themselves to using ethnic identity or tribal politics as maybe a weapon to win over others. Now, to respond to your question, Mr. Soko, ethnicity is defined as a social formation arising from a situation where a group of people with different cultures and linguistic attributes from those of its neighbors use this as the basis for solidarity and interaction with others. Others have also defined, like Shazan 1991, refers to the complexity of human existence and behavior that signifies perceptions of common origins, of historical memories, identity, and common ties between people. So because of language and culture, and I'll give an example. We know that in this country we've got 73 tribes, and there's no tribe which can argue that we are superior over the other tribe. And why this discussion is important is that these 73 tribes that we have in this country should be used in the spirit of coexistence to ensure that how do we harmonize the different maybe colonial boundaries that were marked to ensure that we appreciate the humanity, the diversity of different cultures that exist in our country. So in terms of one tribe being supreme over other tribes, that is far from reality. But of course, there are assumptions and perceptions among the general public, especially when it is an election year. We are presented with bad narratives where maybe the members want to feel that they are powerful. We have a situation where the Tongas would say, no, we are the powerful, we are the strongest, the Lozis, the Kaondes, the Chewas. But these are not issues that matters most as we head towards the 12th August election. It's important that we address this issue of ethnicity with sober minds, especially as we head towards the 12th general elections. 12th August general elections.
Is the tribal card necessary in this year's general elections, just like we have seen in the past?
I'll base much of my discourse and interaction with you based on what happened in the 2016 general election. And you may be aware, you being the journalist and the media house, maybe you could have been privy with the voting pattern in the 2016 general election. The picture that was presented and the picture that is there was very bad. During that period, we saw that the southern and the north and northwest, this country was divided into two. We had the northern province, the eastern province, also standing on its own. These tribal cards, in as much as it may play a certain percentage in terms of one political party gaining a number of votes, it doesn't play a significant role, especially that in this time around, you and me, majority of the people that will be casting a ballot on 12 August 2021 are people that are informed. Unless we say that there are certain political parties, presidential characters, parliamentarian, even councillors that would want to use tribe to justify their need to be in these public offices. But even that is not enough, that I can assure you.
What is your view on the issue of strongholds, which is being advanced by several political parties?
It is sad that we should be talking about strongholds of certain political parties.
No-go areas.
No-go areas, which is very undemocratic, which is very un-Zambian. But it is also important to, as we are talking about the tenets of democracy in this country, issues of multipartism, issues of human rights. It is pointless that Mr. Soko, you can be free to campaign in an area where you come from, and the moment that I want to go into and share my political views, my political ideologies, my political messages to those who would be political, who would be my, maybe people that would be interested to vote for my party, that would use the tag of strongholds. And this is a source of conflict in democracies, and it threatens democracy, because what we're talking about is issues of equality, issues of citizens' participation. I've got all the rights whatsoever to go in any area, in any province, in any constituency, and stand out, being provided that platform, like the way you've hosted me. I have to be free to reach out to the people that I want to reach out. But the moment you declare certain areas to be no-go areas for certain political parties, it is a total violation of human rights. It is a total violation of political rights. It is a total violation of civic rights of the people.
Do you agree with saying that Zambians are generally united people, but politicians are trying so hard to divide them?
Exactly. On that one, I entirely agree with you. And when you look at people that have been pushing this agenda of tribal hatred amongst the Zambian, mind you, we are heading to almost 18 million population of this country. And personally, I will tell you that we've got some few bitter people that want to push their personal agenda to divide this country. And I must take advantage of this platform that Cabinet has provided, that if such elements reach out to us, the citizens, pushing the tribal, to push the tribal hatred among the Zambian people, we must condemn it totally. And among the people that have been pushing this agenda, we've seen sometimes in the media. The power of the media cannot be underestimated. We've seen through social media where certain chiefs have endorsed a certain political party. We've seen in the media, print media, online, media, where certain chiefs in certain areas, it will be unprofessional of me and un-Zambian of me to mention some of the traditional leaders that sometimes have issued careless statements. There has also been some religious leaders that have also issued careless statements. And Cabinet here, thank you so much to Pastor Moses Chiluba for having such an institution. We need leaders, spiritual leaders, that are going to guide their flock to appreciate the coexistence, the unity that has existed in this country, as opposed to having some religious leaders, spiritual leaders, that have issued careless statements that can cause division, especially in this year. We've also seen political elites, both from the ruling, from the opposition parties, that have also issued tribal sentiments that have got the potential to divide this country. And using this platform, for me, such leaders, be traditional or religious leaders, political leaders that have issued careless statement as a way of winning maybe the 12th August general election, for me, I've got no place where democracy, where the spirit of coexistence is concerned in this country.
Thank you. Well, our dear viewers, you are watching The Verdict, and we are discussing democracy and ethnicity. You can also participate on the program by dialing the number that is scrolling on your screens. Now, going further with the program, I want to also get your perspective. What should be the role of the media in terms of diffusing these same tribal sentiments?
Misoko, on that one, is a very cardinal question that you've posed. And as I was going through the Zambian constitution, and from your readings, from your research as a journalist and as Cabinet as a media house, you can agree with me that the media is regarded as a fourth arm of government, meaning the media plays an influential role. And in such a period, even beyond, we should not just be discussing these issues because there is an election that is coming forth. It is also important that from time to time, you, the journalists, media houses, media institutions, provide the necessary information. Rwanda is not far away from where Zambia is, and the harsh experiences of Rwanda still lives on. People are still taken to court. Some are serving jail sentences because of the role the media played in dividing people. So similarly in this country, I'll get back again to the 2016 general elections we had. What was some of the journalists are on record of fueling, providing hatred, hate speech, reporting hate speech between tribes. This political party said ABCD against this tribe. And that's why now we start asking, where is the spirit of coexistence in growing democracies? Where the spirit of humanity? Where is also the spirit of professionalism as you execute your roles and responsibilities as journalists? The media, in short, has a huge role to play in this year. And the media will also be judged on how these elections campaigns will be packaged, the way you are going to be reporting. It doesn't hurt. Your role as journalists from time to time when we are presented with such a situation is to ensure that you engage presidential parties, parliamentary candidates, on how Part A, Part B is going to ensure that issues of poverty, issues of education, issues of health, issues of corruption are going to be addressed in this country. But if the journalists are going to do so much their energy and their time in pushing the agenda of hatred among and between tribes, then we have a problem.
Well, just now we are going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 0930 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chuluwa comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite national matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. You are watching Camnet TV, not just another channel, and the program is dubbed The Verdict. My guest on the program is a human rights activist, Gabriel Sampamailo, and we are discussing democracy and ethnicity. Well, getting on with the program, I asked you earlier on about the role of the media. Now, I want to get you, what are some of the practical interventions institutions like the church, knowing that the church is a critical player in this fraternity, how can the church play an active role to ensure that issues of tribal divisions are not entertained?
Exactly. Just like we mentioned that the media has got a significant role to play in ensuring that it provides quality information to the general public, quality information, information that does not divide, information that unites. Similarly, the church has a huge role to play. And one example I'll give is that when all these politicians are campaigning, one of the places that they go to seek comfort and to seek support are the churches. So, religious leaders in this country should ensure that as we head towards the 12th August 2021 general elections, they make use of their platform. They take advantage of the platform to ensure that elections are a constitutional matter. After 5 years, we go to choose our representatives that are going to override, that are going to be in charge of our country, that are going to be in charge of our natural resources as elected by the Zambian people. Therefore, our religious leaders in this year's election have a huge responsibility and role to play. And their responsibility especially is to provide messages of unity, messages of hope, messages of peace. I can challenge you, Mr. Soko, that no one enjoys discomfort. No one is uncomfortable when peace is mentioned. We all want peace. And this peace that we want, it is we the people that will determine it. Therefore, the church in such periods should play a unifying role, not a divisive role. And I must mention that for the past maybe 3-4 days, what has been coming out both from some traditional leaders, even some political parties, some church leaders, and the Church Council of Zambia was on media recently, demanding, pleading to politicians, pleading to the chiefs, pleading to the Zambian people that these are just elections. Let's not divide ourselves. So the church has got a significant role to play. And it is very historical. When you look at what happened at independence in 1964, what had happened in 1991.
Just hold on to your thought. We have a caller. Hello, you are through to Camden TV.
Yes.
You are?
My name is Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. You can proceed.
Yes. I don't wanted to comment on what you're saying. The issue of the church and democracy or politics. I've always argued the point that the church should be the controller of these politicians. We call ourselves a Christian nation. If the church is willing to find the absolute truth, then the church should be something that all the politicians should look up to. A church that stands on the point. A church that stands on the
Well, we lost that one, but I think the message was clear there. Yeah, I think you can respond to that, and you can also proceed with your thought before I interrupted you.
Thank you so much, Davis, for that contribution. Indeed, the church should be the controller of these politicians. But one of the things that I also forgot to mention, the challenge that we have in ensuring that this democracy becomes a reality, is the issue of poverty. There is so much poverty in our churches that some of the church leaders have been compromised. Maybe I would coin what some churches have been receiving as shut-up allowance. We see politicians visiting certain churches, they make donations, and a church leader is compromised. And when such a situation begins to sort of become like a norm, then the church has lost it. And I'll use this platform to also plead to the church that the role of the church, like Mr. Davis has presented, that the church should play the role of the controller, is very valid. And we can only do this if we go beyond petty politics, if we go beyond the politics of hunger, the politics that would compromise our voice as a church. We should go beyond the politics that would compromise the standing of the role of the church that should continue to play in promoting peace, in unifying, and in controlling these politicians where they, in a way, maybe would err.
Do you think we have done enough to uphold the motto, One Zambia, One Nation?
We haven't done much, and we can still do quite much, so that maybe our children would also enjoy the peace that we are trying to advocate for. Promoting the One Zambia, One Nation, again gets back to, are we respecting the citizens? Are issues of equality being promoted from time to time? What would challenge the One Zambia, One Nation is the inequalities that exist in our societies. The moment people feel, masses feel, or start perceiving that the leaders that we choose, the opposition parties that we have have got no interest in ensuring that they play a unifying role, then we lose out, and the aspect, the motto of the One Zambia, One Nation will remain irrelevant. It is never too late. No wonder we're having this discussion, is to ensure that let's preach equality. Let's engage the citizens. The moment each and every member, the moment each and every citizen of this country feels that I'm engaged, I'm considered equal, issues of inequality, issues of division would not come into discussion. There is much that we can do, and the media, I will still challenge the media. The media still will play a huge role in these issues of unifying the country, especially during periods of elections.
Well, you are watching The Vet. In case you want to participate on the program, you can equally participate by calling the number that is scrolling on your screens. We are discussing democracy and ethnicity. My guest is Mr. Gabriel Milo, who is a human rights activist, as well as civil and human rights activist. Now, Mr. Milo, there's another aspect that I want you to also analyze in this year's general elections. I'll take you to a current affair where we saw Jason Chipepo undertook a lone protest. Mm-hmm. Is that right guaranteed in our constitution? And was it necessary to have him arrested, considering that he was not armed?
Thank you so much, Mr. So. One of the flaws in our constitution, you remember there was the issues of Bill of Rights, which I've also mentioned. The Bill of Rights is a list of values, freedoms that people should enjoy. The case of Jason Chipepo and the manner in which state police handled the case leaves much to be desired. In the interest of national unity, in the interest of democracy, in the interest of One Zambia, One Nation, the manner in which sometimes the police have come out to address certain issues leaves much to be desired, and is purely a violation of human rights. I'll give an example. Me, as Gabriel Milo, I have the rights to protest when I'm aggrieved, and it's provided for in this constitution. But I also take responsibility that even before maybe I take this protest, because in as much as I want to enjoy these freedoms and rights, values, there's also the element of responsibility. What I've also observed within a short period of time is that we have political parties, both from the ruling, and I will not leave any party alone, both from the ruling and from the opposition, that have sometimes seemed to have sponsored youths, sometimes, to go and cause violence in our communities, and this must be condemned. So the case of Chipepo, in the way the police handled that case, leaves much to be desired. It's a violation of human rights, and I know institutions, the Human Rights Commission and other state institutions, some in their right thinking, even within the police, there are those that would condemn that, the manner in which sometimes we exercise these powers is overboard. One example is that why should sometimes when people are protesting, when people have even gotten the permit to maybe exercise their civil rights, why should the police use excessive force, sometimes to the point of using live bullets, live ammunition to disperse people? For me, it's very I would call it barbaric. It shouldn't exist in our times when world over, when developing countries are pushing for the agenda of respecting the rights of the people. When the police feels that order in a country is threatened, there are various ways that they can engage the people. If they want to use excessive force, why not using water canisters than sometimes using live bullets, than using tear gas? Not long ago in this country, in Lusaka, we had an experience, I will not mention the political party, where some people, or one or two people died because Part A and Part B, they could not agree on one or two things around. But why the time leading to an election, we should see and experience the level of intolerance by the police, state police, why should we continue to experience unprofessionalism, to say the least, from some few police officers? Not the entire police force has no capacity. We know that there are some few elements that also want to dent the image of the police to be bad. But there is a lot that the police can do to make sure that as they strive to maintain peace and order, as they strive to promote peace and order in this country, there are ways that they can engage the citizens. Like you stated, I've got a right when I'm aggrieved, and there's different avenues. I can petition, I can lobby, people can go to the media, discuss, express their grievances, and the police, as provided in the law, they should also ensure that in as much as we are trying to maybe to demonstrate, to protest, there are also measures and avenues. Even the person that is protesting has to be protected. That's what world over international laws requires, to make sure that even people that are protesting, people that are demonstrating, are also protected. You see it sometimes in the developed countries. Of course, there have also been issues that comes out also in them, but these are lessons from time to time that we should be learning every day, especially as days, months are getting closer to the 12th August general election. The manner in which that incident was dealt with leaves much to be desired, and I know Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kakanganja, and the team. Also, I've learned something, because when such an incident, you also need to go and sit back. Where did we go wrong? Did we attend to this issue in a more professional way, in a more humane way that befits the status of Zambia, which has been regarded as a beacon of peace in Southern Africa? If we start losing it slowly because of maybe some few individuals, some few political parties that have insatiable appetite to the point that they can fund people, to the point that they can also maybe take advantage of the poverty levels and sponsor disgruntled youths to go and cause anarchy, then we have a problem.
As the police enough to create a mutual understanding with the community, because people just think police officers are just there to arrest them and to intimidate them. Do you think there's that, they have done enough to address that?
Yeah, frankly speaking, objectively speaking, in as much as they are making efforts to address that, there is a lot that needs to be done. And one of the things is that we know that the training for our police officers could be maybe 1 year, 6 months to 2 years. In my own understanding, the moment they go to undergo these trainings, issues of human rights should take center stage in their, in their training. Issues of engaging their citizens should be packaged in a way that when I see a police officer, I should see a person who is there to protect me, not the person who's going to abuse me, or not the person who's going to fire a live ammunition, and that would compromise my safety. The police, as provided in the law, they carry a huge responsibility. Mind you, even this conversation, as we're having this conversation, as we go to sleep, the people that are manning this country are the state police, the military people. So to detach the military people, or to have this notion or impression or the narrative that there is a huge gap between the citizens and the state military or state police, would not be ideal in such a situation. We need to coexist. The police should understand that our role as the police, our role as the military, is to ensure that the security of this country is guaranteed. Security of the citizen of this country is guaranteed. And me as a citizen, I should also be, I should understand, I should be convinced that in an event that something wrong, I've got institutions where I can report matters. I know someone is protecting me 24/7. But the impression has been that we, the citizens, me as a citizen, I look at the police as a person who's going to violate my rights. And examples are there again. The media, print media, you go online, social media. This time around, we cannot run away from reality. Each time the rights of people are violated, it's world over. So the police also should take note of that the world is watching us. the 17 to 18 million plus population of this country is watching us on how we are carrying out our duties and responsibilities.
Interesting. Based on the same topic, what is the need to ensure that the Public Order Act is implemented not to disadvantage any political party, especially that these political parties have the right to hold their, to campaign or to lobby for support from would-be voters?
Exactly. The issues of the Public Order Act, I think, has been a contentious issue. I think it dates back to the 2016 general election. And I think because of the same Bill of Rights that I had referred to, a number of issues that surrounds the Public Order Act, the opposition feels that why we don't maybe have it in a more way that befits each and every member of society, especially political parties, is that there is an impression that maybe the ruling party want to use that to disadvantage the opposition. But that is also another topic of discussion that requires, I think, much time, and possibly also invite state institutions that can provide much information, especially people that played a huge role in crafting the Public Order Act, and also some changes that were made. So to respond to that, I think the issue at hand is to ensure that platforms are equal. We have a level playing ground where the opposition and the ruling party can go in different areas.
Just thought.
Exactly.
Hello, you are through to Camnet TV. May we have your name and where you are calling us from? All right, sir, you can go ahead with your contribution. Thank you very much for your contribution, sir.
I can react.
You can react, and you were actually discussing the same issue.
Exactly. Thank you so much. One of the tenets, one of the principles of democracy is the rule of law. And when laws are made, they are made to protect the people. When laws are crafted, they are crafted in the interest of the people. So it is very saddening that laws should work against a certain grouping of people. It is sad, like the caller stated, that certain laws are only applicable to the few individuals and not to the others. Now, in the spirit of unity, in the spirit of equality, in the spirit of coexistence, in the spirit of appreciating fundamental human rights that calls for coexistence, that calls for equal participation, citizen participation of all, there is need, and there's a lot that the ruling government can do There is a lot that even the opposition, because mind you, the opposition is government in waiting. They should also draw lessons on how best certain pieces of legislations can be applied to everyone. Mind you, there's no one who is above the law. Today, I may be enjoying the powers that be, but tomorrow, it may be a different story. Therefore, when you are applying the law, let it not be selective. Let it not be discriminative in a way. Let each and every citizen of this country, regardless of their socio-economic and political standing in society, each and every citizen of this country is entitled to the enjoyment of these fundamental rights and freedoms.
Thank you. Well, in case you're just joining us, we are discussing democracy and ethnicity. My guest on the program is a civil rights as well as a human rights activist, Gabriel Milo. In case you want to participate on the program, you can also contribute by calling the number that is on your screen, as well as you can leave a text message on our Facebook platform in order to, in case you want to participate via our social media platform. Now, going on with the program, there is also now, as that we're talking about the issue of the Public Order Act, ain't you foreseeing stiffer challenges in terms of governing the elections, considering the fact that ECZ has banned rallies, and when these political parties will be holding elections? Okay, before I turn to that, let's take that call. Hello, you are through to Camden TV.
Hello?
Hello, may we have your name and where you are calling us from?
I'm Mr. Goma.
Mr. Goma, you can go ahead.
Yes, please. Me as an individual, my complaint is that when it is the PFO, there's no COVID. They take the rallies. When it is UPND, there's COVID. When there's the other parties are COVID. Now, where are we going? In democracy, what we want is that everybody will have a chance to campaign. This thing there were a lot of people, meaning that when they go for rally, they go and dress people, then COVID goes. That means that. So it is really that we should know what this government is doing. We need to hold it out into the ball. If they will continue, I'm telling you, we can eat our children. So things are up to date now, it's 280. Everything has gone up. Where are we going? We are not saying, if you go like Undas Kama, there's no wrong. The partner to Undas, there's no wrong. Mazapuka, all over Zambia, the roads are only in fact. And people say, no, they are working. What are they working? So that's my contribution. Please, COVID is for everybody. But not like when they go for there are a lot of multitude of people. COVID is not there. When it is other parties, no one coming from the police when it applies, then tomorrow they say no, there's COVID.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goma. We've gotten your point.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Mr. Goma is saying, was heading towards what I was going to ask you. It has to tally. These are right issues, and we're also talking about democracy. So I want your analysis, like on Mr. Goma's question or contribution, and what I'm going to also add, which is the aspect of rallies have been forbidden by the ECZ, and as hold elections. Don't you think there's need to ensure that the recommended interventions are upheld and that people are able to exercise them equally?
Exactly. Thank you so much, Mr. Goma, for your contribution. The moment citizens feel that there is selective application of the law, they have reasons to be discontent and exhibit their discomfort. The issues of COVID-19, it's a health matter. No one can debate about it. We've seen in our communities, some of us who've witnessed neighbors dying. It's a health matter. It's not only a Zambian issue, it's a global issue. His concern is the application of the same guidelines that have been provided by Ministry of Health and now Electoral Commission of Zambia. Of their target areas in specific areas, and those now can spread that message. For me, that would be the ideal situation. We know that banning rallies has disadvantaged everyone. But when it comes to selection, application of these guidelines, like he's indicated, if it is PF, there is no COVID. If it is UPND or other parties, the Socialist, the Andy Ford Mawere's parties, the Sean Tembo's parties, there is COVID. And the moment people start to feel that and see that, then they have all the reasons to question why there is a selective application of the law in such matters.
Interesting. Well, in case you want to participate, you can call the number that is on your screen. We are discussing democracy and ethnicity. Now, let's get to another issue. But how do we consolidate these issues in terms of ensuring that we create a favorable political environment that is inclusive, regardless of tribe, political party, so that each and every political party is able to have a fair share in terms of the campaigns?
There's a lot that we need to do as a country. And there's a lot that political parties, presidential candidates in this year's election, parliamentary candidates in this year's elections, councillors can do. There's a lot that traditional leaders can do to make sure that we have we kill the issues of violence that sometimes defines our elections, period leading to elections, especially from campaign time up to the last day of casting a ballot. It's a responsibility of every citizen, every well-meaning Zambian has a responsibility. Now, when it comes to issues of a level playing ground, one of the issues again that we should be talking about from time to time, how are we providing these political platforms where people, regardless of where they are, they can participate freely? Question number one. Question number two is the issues of equality. You want to enjoy the rights. I equally want to enjoy the rights. But why should certain rights be removed from specific people, be removed from specific political parties? And these are questions that we should be asking from time to time. How do we address this? We can address this, one, through the media. These platforms are very important. These platforms where we engage, people call in, they express their discontent, they express their disappointments. And I know government institutions, they're listening. They are privy to this conversation. Therefore, they can also play a role in ensuring that, one, if it means regulations, let these regulations apply to everyone. The moment certain regulations are targeting a certain political party or certain political individuals, then we are going wrong. You talked a little bit on issues of tribe. It is sad that in this era, when we should be talking about scientific research, when we should be talking about development, when we should be talking about improved healthcare systems, African countries, Sub-Sahara, Zambia in particular, should reduce itself to be talking about tribe, when there are so many things that are affecting the Zambian people. Poverty is one of them. And sometimes I'll cite one example. When we see these political thugs that have invaded political parties, it is not that they are comfortable to cause disunity, to kill, to lift their machetes. It's the poverty. So political parties in their respective offices have got a huge role to play in ensuring that, one, we talk campaigns that are issue-based. Now, when you've got a huge population of youths who, number one, don't even understand political parties' manifestos, I will challenge you, Mr. Soko, one day, invite some of these cadres, if they even understand their political party manifestos. Out of 100, maybe there could be 1 or 2. This explains that even political parties are not doing enough to inform, to sensitize, to provide this information, such that those that claim that they are political cadres, when they go out, because a cadre is a follower of a certain political party or a certain maybe religious grouping, such that when they go out, they are going to share the message of what their political party stands for. But in the case of Zambia, in the case of these elections, these campaigns that we're having, very few of these political thugs, I don't even call them cadres because they don't befit, because what we see them are thugs that are terrorizing our communities, that are promoting, creating anarchy. And it is a call. Recently, the IG issued a statement that as we head towards these elections, there will be no sacrificial, there will be no special treatment for political parties. The law will be applied equally. And personally, for me, that is timely. And I hope that if what the IG stated will be the ideal situation as people continue campaigning their respective constituencies, then we'll commend him for doing that, because I think it is unchristian, like one of the callers mentioned, to lose a life when you know that you'll be giving someone a job to be a president or to be an area member of parliament or to be an area councillor. Why should I go and cast a vote when I know that my neighbor was killed during a campaign? It kills the purpose of participating in an election.
Thank you. Well, just now we'll take a short break. We'll be back shortly. You are watching The Verdict. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
We celebrate for all you've done, Lord. We give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate for all you've done, Lord. We give you all the praise.
Welcome back. You are watching The Verdict, and just now we are going to take our next caller to get his contribution, his or her contribution. Hello, you are through to Camnet TV. Yes. Okay, sir, you can go ahead with your contribution.
Then kuchoka hapo even democracy mnamwati mzambia muri kifata mina kambira so one unalinkani ya magasinzi nankarazi wa human rights banakambira majona kisema wachikara chaki wa human rights banakambira then kuchoka hapo tiliko nankani ya kungendera wa polisi kubamenya wa human rights banakambira manje sinizo kuti democracy nani ya kwani no zaki.
Thank you for your contribution, sir. Yes. All right. There is concern is that the human rights, I don't know if it means the Human Rights Commission, but as well you are also human rights defenders. You should, he is asking that you do not do much to advance the human rights agenda. What's your take on that?
He's right to express his views, and he has a right even to analyze things and situations, and he has given good examples. When the police were beaten in their respective offices, institutions that are also mandated to protect the police were nowhere to be seen. And in this case, I think he was referring to the Human Rights Commission. He's also mentioned a number of issues that relates to health, and he says that the Human Rights Commission and human rights defenders and promoters do not come on board from time to time. One of the things that maybe I should also hasten to mention is that these rights that we want to enjoy, they are in it. We are born with them, with these rights and freedoms. And institutions that are mandated to ensure that they, one, promote, they also safeguard these rights are doing a commendable job. It requires strong institutions. It requires a strong institution in terms of human skills. It also requires in terms of financial support. I know there are challenges that certain institutions face where promotion, respecting and protecting people's rights are concerned. And there's also the aspect of politicization of institutions that are supposed to promote and to defend the rights of the people. One institution I would cite, again I'll get back to the police as state institution, the Human Rights Commission and other agencies, be local, even international. But in our case, we're talking about the state of affairs in this country. It's high time that citizens from time to time started engaging. And it is high time that state institutions took a listening ear so that as we dialogue, it doesn't hurt. When I'm aggrieved, I present a case to the police or I present a case in institutions that are supposed to deal with that institution. Another example could be the Electoral Commission of Zambia. If I'm Party B and I feel the provision of the Electoral Code of Conduct, certain political parties are going against, and I feel that maybe that undermines maybe my political participation, I've got all the rights whatsoever to file in my case to say, I feel that this and this are not done correctly. But in terms of achieving, realizing, and enjoying the rights of the people in this country, as I've said, it's an ongoing process. And the more we talk about it, the more people in those institutions will change. And the more we'll also be able to engage with state institutions.
Well, there's also a saying, do you agree with the saying that the rights agenda is equally an expensive undertaking?
Come again? The
rights agenda is an expensive undertaking, like we see in the area of advancing issues to do with disability. Yeah. They say one of the reasons why it hasn't been, much hasn't been done is because rights are an expensive undertaking to ensure that they are achieved, especially for persons with disabilities.
You are very right. And one of the attributes that I can give towards that is the way we've packaged our civic education curriculums. It is important that when our children are still small, we start talking about these rights. We admire European countries and developed countries because for them, these are in black and white. When a little child is growing, they already understand their rights. So even when I make that child, when he grows, is given a public office to head, he or she fully understand what is mandated. Human rights issues are very expensive. It's an expensive agenda, you've put it right. One of the things is that for developing countries, and when we put certain individuals in specific offices, they think in their little knowledge that they are doing us a favor. I mean, Mr. Soko, when I'm sick, I have to be free to work in any health institution and ask for any healthcare system that I want. If I'm aggrieved, I should be free to work in any institution that I know that this institution is going to protect me. But we've got a situation that certain individuals that manage this institution, when we move into these places, they think they're doing us a favor. And that's where we've gone it wrong.
Do you think the politicians also think like that?
Definitely. And I'll give an example. Let's cite an example of CDF. Some of the politicians in the past were cited of abusing these funds, and yet these funds were meant for the citizens. And when they do maybe some few projects in their constituencies, they want the citizens to kneel before them, which is not right. We talk about issues of taxes. Some of us were not afraid to be taxed, but where is our taxes going? And these are issues. You brought in the aspect of people with the who are different abled. I must commend some few political parties that have adopted people living with a disability or people that are different abled to stand in different positions as councillors, as parliamentarians. And these are progressive issues that we need to be talking about, because when the minority people feel aggrieved, hence these discontents, hence the confusion that we see in our communities. But if the rights are applied to everyone, if rights are respected regardless of your socio-economic status, regardless of your maybe disabilities, if rights are applied equally, people will not be agitated, people will not be questioning the current state of affairs. But why people question? Because they have seen a problem and they've got a right to question. Why do they have a right to question? They have a right to question because they woke up around 04 or 03 to go and cast a vote. So meaning, they should also hold you accountable to say, no, gentleman or madam, you haven't done your things right, because the person who made you to be where you are, it's me, because I woke up at 0304 to go and cast a ballot. So duty bearers, elective representatives that we choose, have a huge responsibility to respond to the needs of the people. Of course, it cannot be done overnight. We know that we have a lot of challenges in our country, but those that could be done within their jurisdiction, let them do so.
Thank you very much. Well, we are discussing democracy and ethnicity. My guest is a human rights activist, Mr. Gabriel Milo, and we have analyzed quite a number of issues now, and we are going towards the end of our program. But before I let you, I just want to get your perspective regarding the way forward. We know that campaigns are on, and how is the need to ensure that citizens also play their part in this agenda and ensure that they also contribute towards creating an inclusive society, and that dialogue as well as exchange of information is promoted to ensure that even as people go to cast their vote on the August 12, they are informed and they know they make the decisions without any undue influence.
Thank you so much. One of the things that political parties should do during this period is to package their information, their messages rightly. If I know they have resources to do so. If they want to reach out to the masses, let them translate even their manifestos. Let UPND put their manifesto in Tonga, in Bemba, in Lenje, in Soli, in Senga, in English, and share these manifestos on social media. Let PF package nicely their messages, maybe it could be flyers. Let them share these messages on radio, on TV, on social media. In terms of communities, it is high time we started promoting coexistence. Let politics not divide people. Let politics not divide communities. Let not tribe divide people because of wanting to put someone in State House or trying to put someone at Parliament. Why should you do such? Why should you be divided? Or why should you allow yourselves? Why should we allow ourselves to be divided? Because of, and you know, funny enough, sometimes when we vote for these people, they don't even visit the constituents. So why should you hate your neighbor? Because of a person who will not even represent you properly for the period of 5 years. Evidence is there. We see this in our communities. We had in the past where we had the absentee area member of parliament, 5 years, can't even fail to maybe even to dig a borehole in a community. 5 years, can't even sink a communal toilet in the community. So why should people be divided because of politics? So what we are trying to promote, what I'm trying to promote is to ensure that let all these political parties preach the spirit of coexistence, preach the spirit of equality. Let the laws that we have be applied equally, regardless of which party you belong to, regardless of people's socio-economic and political status in society.
Mr. Milo, we would like to thank you for finding time to be part of the program.
Thank you so much, and it's very honoring to be on CAMNET. What I can wish you as CAMNET TV and the entire team is to make sure that as we head to the pause, let's promote equality, let's promote coexistence, and report factual issues.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, our dear viewers, you've been watching another interesting edition of The Verdict, and our topic of discussion has been democracy and ethnicity. My guest was Gabriel Milo, a rights activist. Until next time, as we come to your screens with yet another interesting edition of The Verdict, this has been Patrick Soko. Stay tuned, and remember, CAMNET TV is not just another channel.